What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. This is game number 3 here between TyLooJim and WeGiga's Loner. This time we're on TyLooJim altar with TyLooJim spawning in the lower left-hand spawn location as our red Protoss player, and in the upper left-hand spawn position, Loner as the blue Terran player. Alright, so game number 3, we are now tied up 1-1 here in this series between these two players. Last game we saw an opening of a proxy gateway from TyLooJim. Now with that, he was able to do a bit of economic damage. He then immediately worked his way up into double forge 1-1 upgrades and pushed out with, it was a gateway immortal mix essentially is what he had, and some beautifully placed force fields plus that upgraded advantage really allowed him to tear through what Loner had, and then he had no problem just continuing to push against his natural. Loner, realizing that he lost the game before even losing that natural, just ended up calling the GG right there. But still pretty interesting there. Game number 2, and a very interesting decision there to go with that proxy gateway early on. Now, you don't expect to outright kill your opponent with that, but as we saw TyLooJim do, the whole goal is to just set behind that Terran player economically. Trying to delay the bunker production is one of the biggest things you can do, and that's exactly what we saw TyLooJim do. He tried to delayed as long as possible the production of that bunker, and that allowed his zealots to stay up a bit longer and do a bit more damage as a result. Now, pylon and gateway coming on through here for TyLooJim, also coming out with his simulator at the same time, moving out with his scouting probe. Firstly, checking the lower right and spawn location. Back over here inside of the main for Loner. Loner, oh boy. Very, very early expansion coming out here for Loner. He's going straight into Expo at 15 supply. There it is, command center coming out here for Loner. We'll be following that up with that Rax hopefully sometime soon. Doesn't want to delay that too much longer. Now, TyLooJim, even though he has scouted incorrectly, and on the second attempt will also be scouting incorrectly, he may very well make it inside of Loner's base to scout out that quick expansion before that Rax and First Marine does finish. It is a large map though, so it is possible for this to be done in time, but it doesn't seem all too likely as he's going to be turning around very shortly once he realizes the Loner isn't here. We've got a second Rax coming out here as well for Loner. Back inside of the main for TyLooJim, everything looking pretty standard so far. Hasn't made any major commitments. I will expect him to actually go 1 gate expand once he scouts this out, unless he decides to try to push out against that. Now that first Rax still not finished, and yes, it does appear like the probe scout will make it inside far enough to scout the fact that Loner is coming out with this expansion, and that's a major concern here for Loner. He'll be spotted out so early, TyLooJim could certainly make him pay for something like that. There's really no question about that. Here comes that orbital. Now he is moving up. The First Marine still not out. Moving into the main, scouting out the 2 Rax, and actually that's kind of indicative of this expansion as well. So he should be moving down, and oh, still hasn't scouted it out. Oh my gosh. Even though he didn't scout it out, I expect him to assume that because he has seen 2 Rax here. The assumption is going to be that there is an expansion somewhere, even though he hasn't actually laid eyes on it. Now moving out with that Stalker, we'll actually deny this SCV scout. There you go. So Loner unable to move out with an expansion with a scout of his own. And taking a look here at TyLooJim, we will be seeing that Nexus. Again, that's the assumption. Oh, no. Coming out more gateways. Here it is. 2 more gateways, 3 more gateways. Here from TyLooJim, scouting out that quick expand. TyLooJim says, hey, you know what? 4 gate it is. 4 gate it is. Coming out with 3 more gateways right now. He's got his warp gate research continuing on through, and he will be pushing up to do some damage here. Now he's going to be trying to delay the production of this bunker immediately. Moving up with that Zealot and Stalker, able to kill off that SCV before it finishes. And with that second Stalker, feeling bold enough now to move in with his Zealot, and he's going to be able to actually kill off these Marines with just a little bit of micro. Should be able to save both of his Stalkers here, no problem as well. There you go, that one gets dropped. We'll be trying to chase down the Stalker. Don't think he's going to have enough though. And yes, again with a little bit of micro. Oh, it's going to be very close. Oh, bunker finishes though. Bunker is finished. 3 gateways now done. Here comes the pressure. Pylon over here for TyLooJim. We'd like to see another pylon a little bit closer here to the fray. That'd be actually really, really nice here, but TyLooJim does have those 4 gates up, so he should be moving out. There's the scan. Did he scout it out? Did he scout it out? He sees this gateway back here, but that is it. I don't know if he's 100% certain of this 4 gate, but he should be relatively expecting it. So here we go right now. Zealot's moving up. Nice force field there, trying to lay the repair. Is he going to get the bunker? It's going to be very close. No! Oh, no, he doesn't get that bunker. That is awful for TyLooJim. Not getting that bunker is a major hit. He needed, absolutely positively needed to kill that, but Loner with some mass repair action able to stop that from happening. Second and third bunker also coming up as he continues to mass up these Marines. And all of a sudden, TyLooJim kind of in a rough spot. We've got 4 racks pumping out Marines one after the other. Finally coming out with a refinery over here. He's going to have just enough bunkers to be able to defend himself against any continued aggression here from TyLooJim. I don't expect TyLooJim to do anything else at this point. Not with 3 bunkers up and some SCVs also trying to repair these as well. Again, attempting to move in, realizing, yeah, it's too much. As much too much. He saves that Zealot, though. That was actually really nice. So there you go. TyLooJim now heading back home. He'll be losing these pylons as well. Again, just unable to break that. Really puts him in a position where he's got no choice but to move back home. So TyLooJim back home now, still just sitting on these 4 gateways. Hasn't worked his way up into robotics yet. We'll expect to see that sometime very soon. Is that going to be the one that does it? No, not yet. He's actually straight moving down to her pylon there at the Nexus. Income-wise, Loner is ahead as expected. He has wasted some resources here on these bunkers, and he is still just sitting with Marines, but he is finally now preparing to make that transition. We'll be going Marauder heavy from this point forth, as he does have 3 tech labs down here on these racks. Still some units here in the center of the map, but TyLooJim really can't do much with it at the moment. Again, I do really want to see that robotics very shortly here from TyLooJim. He's going to really want that observer soon. Coming out with another gateway. Very interesting. Just going to come out with another gateway before his robo. And another one. No robotics at all. He's just sticking gateway heavy. Pretty interesting. What does this tell me? What does this tell me? Well, it tells me the following, that he is really not that prepared or planning for the late game. He still wants to continue to try to break this here and bust through Loner's frontal wall. He's not preparing to make his way up into Colossus tech. He's not preparing to make his way up into High Templar tech either. He's not going to Twilight Council, anything like that. So he's planning to continue to push here. And I've been going to bother scouting. Now, lucky for him, there wasn't a Cloaked Banshee transition. That is a very unlikely transition, though, so it's not like he was completely kind of guessing what was going to happen. Typically, with that opener that we saw here from Loner, you do expect just more and more bio, but this is going to be pretty interesting to see now. The problem is that the more time goes on, the less and less potent this gateway army becomes here for TyLooJim. He really needs a higher tech to be able to deal with massive amounts of bio, but if he can try to bust this wall before the numbers get too high here for Loner, then he could actually do pretty well. Now he's got those additional gateways now up and running, and he's going to be warping in units, and here it comes. Guardian Shield being placed down the force field wall again to try to allow him to take out these bunkers. This time it's actually working much better as he has more sentries to force field. There's still a lot of bio left, though, behind that wall, and that is going to be a lot of damage. Once that does sneak through, this all looking pretty scary right here for TyLooJim. He's taking some pretty hefty losses. He had Zealots sitting idly back there. And TyLooJim, I think the time has come where all of a sudden those gateway units are not going to be doing too well for him, and Loner seems to have more than enough bio here to tear through this. Here we go. Moving forward, trying to get those Zealots up front, but it doesn't matter. There's just too much bio here for Loner. And unfortunately, TyLooJim hit a little too late there in the decision to not work his way up into higher tech and try to use the gateway tech to bust through Loner's wall. Unfortunately, was not the best one, because as we can see, Loner, just by pulling off some SCVs, able to defend without issue. And now TyLooJim heads back home with his tail between his legs, and I'm pretty much guaranteed to see a counterattack here and likely to do a lot of damage as well. Stim Pack in play, Combat Shield in play, Concussive Shell in play. Also coming out with some Medivacs now, and this is going to allow him to finally mobilize and not be too worried about overstimming. And TyLooJim should be scared right now, shaking in his boots most certainly here, as TyLooJim is not prepared at all for such a strong bio push. In fact, we take a look at the army supply, triple the size here, with Loner sitting at 61 army supplies as opposed to the 22 of TyLooJim. We'll just be taking a couple pop shots there from the low ground, taking out that assimilator, and then finally working his way up here. We've got a couple sentries to attempt to do some force field in action, but there we go, some bio getting dropped over there. Ooh, force field at the low ground, helping a bit. Actually, that bio out of range there. I don't know what Loner's doing right now. A little bit of must micro. It doesn't really even matter, though, because TyLooJim is just way too far behind and calling the GG. Loner opened up very greedy, going Expo first. That was something that TyLooJim attempted to punish him for by pushing early on with a 4-gate and then moving out with a 6-gate after expanding. But unfortunately for TyLooJim, with some help of SCVs, Loner had really no problem defending against both those pushes, and as a result ended up being able to counterattack and result in a GG. Alright guys, that was game number 3 here between TyLooJim and Loner. We'll be moving on to game 4 in just a moment. Right now we have got Loner up 2-0. And again, game 4 happening right after this. Stay tuned for that. As always, if you like the content, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, guys. Keep watching and keep owning.